Hi, welcome to the first Levity Books wrap-up. I'll be ranking 25 books I read this year from worst to best. As you can see, I smashed my GoodReads 2020 challenge out of the park. Next year, I'm going to be trying a little bit harder. I've read some really incredible books this year out of the 374 books I've read in the last decade through slow and steady reading. But it's going to pick up next year, and I'm super excited to tell you what the best books I found this year are. This year I read 3 poems, 2 comics, 4 plays, 5 essays, 2 short stories, and 9 novels. I read widely, but I stick to modern classics, and I hope this channel will grow as a great resource for adults looking to get into reading great classic literature, which will help them understand the history and the wonders of the world. I use a library, so I won't be holding up all the books. So without further ado, let's begin. At 25, we have The Flame Alphabet by Ben Marcus, which I stand by my statement. I think it's the worst novel I've ever read. I made a review explaining why I think that is. I think it's just a broken and cruel novel. At 24, we have Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, which was once given to me by a Polish girl I was once fond of, and I'm glad I didn't read it at the time because it's essentially a boring sailor story which has no awareness of the cruelties of the slave trade. And so I wondered, what could I really learn from this? And the style is so inaccessible, unenjoyable, and unpoetic. At 23, we have the only 2-star read of the year, which was On Suicide by David Hume. It's an essay by this philosopher talking about why suicide should be legalized. I read it because my PhD thesis is on the neurobiology of depression and suicide. I wanted some context. It's a great historical essay, but it's not that enjoyable to read otherwise. At number 22, we're entering my 3-star reads with Humboldt's Gift by Saul Bellow, which was the hardest book to get through this year. See my review for more. At number 21, we have the least read book on the list, The Vanishing Physician Scientist, which is a non-fiction book for people looking to apply to medical school after having a PhD. It wasn't that helpful to me. At number 20, we have Mirror Shades by Bruce Sterling, a great cyberpunk sci-fi short story collection which I mentioned in my Cyberpunk 2077 review. It's a great introduction, but it has its problems. At number 19, we have The Square Root of Wonderful by Carson Mccullers, my favorite female author. It's a play about why you shouldn't get into love triangles. I've made a great review about that recently. At number 18, we have If You Steal by Jason, who is one of my favorite graphic novelists, but this is his weakest collection because it's too referential, not as funny, and very inconsistent in quality. It's still pretty good though, because it's Jason. At number 17, we have Design is Art by Bruno Munari. It's a book that will help designers think outside the box, but it won't lead the way. See my review for more. At number 16, we have The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Frederick Engels. I like your manifesto. Put it to the test though. At number 15, I read Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, which reads much like a homosexual version of The Square Root of Wonderful. I really wanted to read James Baldwin's writings on race, but they were all taken out from the library. I ended up picking his only book on sexuality. It wasn't what I expected. At number 14, we have Lady Windermere's Fan by Oscar Wilde, which is the funny, feel-good title of this list. I've made a good review on it, and also this is only the 3rd funniest book in this list. I've read some really funny books recently that are further down the line because I just love a funny book. At number 13, we have Fahrenheit 451, which I was quite conflicted on because it's a dystopia where books are made illegal, but it's written so badly that it doesn't really defend the right to read, such that it could even cause the dystopia it's describing. I made a rant review about this that I never published, and maybe someday I should let it see the light of day. At number 12, we have Hamlet, which is most people's favourite Shakespearean play, but I found it much less enjoyable than Othello, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet, and the other plays that I've seen only on stage, because it's just kind of silly. Like, it was a tragedy based on foolishness and greed and wanting to take revenge instead of just doing it. It was so frustrating. At number 11, we're entering the 4-star zone with Illuminations by Arthur Rimbaud. Illuminations made Patti Smith fall in love with him. I can see why. It's a highly colourful active poetry. It's kind of like a concretized form of Sylvia Plath's poetry. I'll describe them both as the color purple in my mild synesthesia. At number 10, we have Sabrina by Nick Donasso, which I've made my longest review to date on. There's so much to talk about this culturally relevant work, so you're going to have to check that out. At number 9, we have The Sonnets to Orpheus by Rainer Maria Rilke, which is a great ballad poem which kind of feels like carpe diem for nature, that we're all pitted against the inevitability of death, but eternal cycles of life. It's really optimistic. It's a wonderful read. I can't remember the last time I read a poem so optimistic. At number 8, we have The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea by Yukio Mishima. This is a Japanese story. This is PewDiePie's favorite author. It's the first time I've read Mishima, not my last. It's really good. It reads a bit like Fight Club for Japan, if that's not too simple to say. So I'd highly recommend it to an older male audience. At number 7, we have The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen, my favorite family drama. It's great to finally see how Franzen and David Foster Wallace are linked at the level of modern realism and new sincerity. At number 6, I should say I'm normally a very critical reviewer, but this year I struck gold. I found 6 5-star books, and this is the first. It's called The Man Who Was Thursday by Gk Chesterton. It's a real goose hunt of a novel. It's super funny. It's the funniest book I've read in a very long time, and it's the best book I've read that's set in London by a British author. At number 5, we have The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley, which is an essay of a second-by-second retelling of a mescaline trip. This is a psychedelic drug that acts on the brain and distorts perception. Some people won't be interested in drug experiences, but I am, because I look at neuroscience and philosophy. It gives great insights to the brain and the mind. At number 4, we have Flatland, a great family-friendly story in which the author describes a world where everything is made of shapes and all the people are made of shapes. And he does this to lay down universal principles that apply to all societies and to bypass the censorship that would come with saying these things. It's a highly insightful and creative book I'd love to give a teenager who thinks outside the box. At number 3, bronze medal, we have A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, which I think is the perfect play. It was the first review on this channel. This book might have even convinced me to start this channel. I think it's a perfectly constructed play. Everything is right about this. Though my review is not perfectly recorded, if you stick around you'll see just how enthusiastic I am about this book. At number 2, we have a surprise entry, The Metal Ball by Miranda July. It made my heart race, my stomach turn, and made me laugh so loudly. I've made a review about this that might be out by now. It's coming soon, and you can read it in half an hour for free online, and I highly recommend you do so. At number 1, drumroll please, we have Bow Down by Karen Green, which is a fantastic book. It has a full range of emotions that I don't normally find in poetry. It has a highly confessional nature that I don't normally find in fiction. It has a highly experimental nature that I don't normally find in any books. The use of images really just put me out of my comfort zone and took this book to another level. Check my review to find out why this is such an important and great book. Here's a tier ranking for all the books in this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and consider subscribing if you want to hear more book reviews. I'm going to be very ambitious next year. My 2021 TBR is coming very soon, and I hope to see you again. Happy reading.